What is up, everybody? This is Lyle, No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. I am coming at you from the Beck's Truck Stop in Lincoln, Illinois, I-55, exit 126. Now, you got a couple options out here that are pretty good. You got the Beck's over here on this side, and then you have a Pilot, which is kind of co-branded with the Thorntons across the street. So the parking over here is a little bit better. You know, you got them big old wide spots and everything. And so I decided to pull over here. I shut it down due to bad weather. Dropped my load this morning. And man, I dropped it at Smithfield in Caseyville, Illinois. They took my load locks. And I was like, you know what? I was about to ask for them back. And I was just like, man, I don't even want to deal with this shit. So I just left out of there. Didn't necessarily need a washout or anything like that, but I went to get a washout in Pontoon Beach, Blue Beacon over there, and ended up getting a load picking up in Waterloo, Iowa, which is where I'm headed. We'll get into that in a second. Going down to Laredo. So Laredo, Texas. So I know the weather's not supposed to be all that great down there, but there is no sanctuary in this entire country. You know, when I was shut down after I delivered this load, I was kind of thinking, okay, where do I want to go? Where do I not want to go? Where might I turn down a load? You know, all this kind of stuff. And I'm looking at it, and I'm just looking at the entire country, and I'm like, I'm fucked regardless of what I do. So I might as well just, you know, I mean, use my best judgment, but I doubt I could get worse or better than Laredo, Texas. So that's where I'm headed. Now, I shut down here because I gotta take I-155 to, like, anyway, I gotta get up by Davenport, hit the 80 and do all that. But right there is where the bad weather and everything starts. But I didn't see enough reliable truck stops along the route that would get me much closer to where I needed to go. So sometimes, you know what? Take the place you got. Because, you know, I could get up near Davenport or whatever, and, you know, then it's like musical chairs trying to find a place to park. So I'm going to take what I know instead of what I might be able to get. So, woo-hoo! Ashy knuckles right there. Got that shower this morning at the TA in Troy, Illinois, and pulled in there. I had some Ultra points at TA that were about to expire. So I was like, man, let me park in this reserve place up here, all close to the front door. So I went in there, got on the app, you know, did my little parking thing. And I was like, man, I probably just wasted Ultra credit. I went in there and got something to eat. Man, about 10 o'clock last night, somebody was definitely going around kicking people out of spots. So glad I did that. So just a couple tips. Just for, you know, very new people. You know, I filled up today at that TA in Troy, Illinois. So when I got this load and drove out, my fuel tanks were pretty much full. Now, there was some anti-gel in there, but not at full strength because I wasn't in bad weather. I probably had about a quarter remaining of what I probably needed to treat this at. So one thing I wanted to make sure of before I stopped was I got some anti-gel in my tanks. Now, I didn't want to just open up the tanks and pour the anti-gel in there. I stopped across the street at the Pilot, threw in my anti-gel, and put in enough fuel, which really wasn't much, but enough fuel to kind of mix that in. So it wasn't just like anti-gel settling in. You know, I got it mixed in. That was the only reason I got that fuel. I don't know what the price was, any of that kind of stuff. Even though I'm dropping this trailer, I put a little swig back there as well. Maybe not totally 100% strength like if I had a load on me, but did treat that as well. So another thing, you know, I've had some people ask me, when is the right time to shut down? sometimes you just don't know. I've become a little bit more conservative after I've seen the response when I can only speak for my company. When people have had issues in bad weather that they could blame on somebody, I've become very conservative as far as that goes. Now, one thing I will do is I'll take a look at the indigenous population around me as to what they're doing. So I'll focus on what are day cabs doing. If they're from the area, stuff like that, how are they driving? How are the cars driving? I'll take kind of subtle hints from them. If I see cars are driving slower than me, that's definitely a point for me to slow the hell down. But there's really no, you can look at all the apps you want. And one thing I'll tell you is, and I wholeheartedly disagree with this message that gets put out, is that weather's never a reason to get in an accident. You know what? Sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes the apps just aren't that good. Sometimes you're out driving in a place like last night. 2 nights ago. Good example. I get to my pickup. I'm out driving. Then weather hits. Well, if there's nowhere to park, there's nowhere to park. So let's say you're like, all right, you know what? Let me just pull over on this off ramp and get off the road. Then if somebody hits you, now that's your fault. So, these apps are only so good. These apps weren't saying that the weather is going to be like it was. And, and a lot of times they're not going to count for some of these little off-brand U.S. routes and stuff like that. So, anyway, I guess what I'm saying is, it's super easy. It's super easy for me as a man to tell some woman, some shit that women should be doing than it is for me to be a woman and deal with the shit that women have to deal with. So I'm just going to leave it at that. So I'm playing it conservative. Because last thing I need is to not play it conservative, get into some shit, and then even some shit that's not really my fault, because I've seen somebody take the fall on something that wasn't even their fault. I saw the video and I was like, I don't know how that got blamed on you. So anyway, enough about that rambling. So anyway, that's that. So this blizzard up the direction I'm going is supposed to keep going till the morning. When the morning comes, I'll reevaluate the situation and then give a new ETA on that. Really, as long as I'm there by 06 in the morning on Sunday, that's fine. But then I have a whole nother level of just getting far enough south, which south could be worse. I'm looking at the maps down there. They got freezing rain and shit possibly down south. So that's another whole issue that I might end up having to deal with. But one thing I will do is play this cautiously. And speaking of which, now I've seen messages from fleet managers, one outside of Prime, actually one inside of Prime, where one fleet manager outside of Prime was basically a little bit more condescending, and this person decided to shut down. And then there's one inside that was slickly encouraging this to go a little bit further, while still protecting the integrity of what could possibly come down on this person. So just remember, whatever happens, it's coming down on you. Now a fleet manager might take a hit as far as statistics, or I don't know, some shit like that, or how many people in their fleet got in accidents, or any of those kind of things. But no, can't really see a fleet manager directly getting fired for you flipping a truck, but I could see you getting fired directly for flipping a truck or any other thing that goes along with inclement weather driving. You know, and here's another thing, and I'm going to end it on this. So Prime has this new thing, and this is like information. You know, information is everything, right? So I haven't seen this thing yet, but Prime apparently has like this big old board, or I don't know, a screen or something where you could see where all the trucks in the fleet are. Now, one thing I will do, and I'm in a little group on Live 360 or something like that, where we have, I think I only know one driver on this whole thing, maybe two. But there's a bunch of drivers on this where you can like see what speed these drivers are driving at in different areas of the country. That is valuable. Prime should have, and it can't be that hard, right? If they already have the technology, they should have something where you can see the speed of all these different trucks that are around the country. So maybe I say, you know what? This thing is saying that the weather is like this here. Maybe I can click on this truck. Oh, this truck's doing 60, 55, whatever. It just gives you an idea, and I will use that 360 app just to see how the speeds are that drivers are driving around the country that are at least in this group. So anyway, that's something that Prime should have. Now, I have got a message from Prime before, and I don't know if it wasn't from my fleet manager. It was from a different fleet manager. I don't know if their driver was like not wanting to drive, because I just got a random text from a random fleet manager saying, what are road conditions like out there? I was up in Idaho, winter, and I think I might have been driving like 50 something, or not 50, 60, 62, somewhere in that range. Roads were generally good condition, maybe ice every, so often, but I don't know why that message was sent to me. Maybe it was like, slow the fuck down, which I can't see, or maybe it was like information they wanted to pass on to another driver. So I think if we had something where we can see the whole board, or whatever, or even just the fleet manager's board, what their trucks are doing, what speeds they're going, that might have somebody be like, oh, maybe it isn't as bad as I think it is. Because sometimes you don't know how bad it is. I honestly remember being at the Allerton or East St. Louis Flying J, the big one that's out there. Slick as fuck, right? So I'm getting out. You could barely make it into the building. But I saw a Prime truck coming in, and I was like, what's the weather out, or what are the road conditions like out there? And then they're like, they're not that bad. But the only information I had was that this parking lot right here is slick as fuck. Once you got out on the roads, it was perfect. And it could be the opposite as well. Sometimes you could be at a truck stop and, hold on a second. The conditions are well, but it's fucked up out on the road. Anyway, I got a driver calling me. I got to let you go. I appreciate you stopping by No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. As always, comment, subscribe. I'm out.